Today.
I should have brushed my waves. I done got hi, y'all. Hello, hello. Bear is getting on here.
Since we know what to do now, it won't take us all day.
It doesn't take us all day either.
All right, we on the timeline. What's up, everybody? What we doing today, babe? Let them know.
Today we're gonna be going over chapter 4 of our continued reading of the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is the book we've been reading. If you want to know what's been going on with this book, just watch the other videos because we go in depth with all of them. Are we listening? There we go. Hello. Welcome to today's live. We are going over chapter 4 of the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, titled Mind Strategies for Avoiding the Now.
People are here, but we don't see them. What did you do before?
That means that they must be on your feed.
Yeah. Carville, what's going on?
Hello. So, what picture we got in here?
That's me. Me and my homies. This is my bookmark. young JP in the middle there. This is on my birthday, like when I was like 18.
Oh my goodness.
All
Nobody
right.
needs to know all that.
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. First of all, what did you think about this chapter?
Chapter 4 is we're getting into some actual practical things that we can do. And the one word that sums up chapter 4 for me is resistance. Resistance showed up a lot in this chapter, and more so being resistance to the now and resistance to the natural flow of things. So yeah, let's jump into it, babe. Where you want to get started in chapter 4?
Page 1. And by page 1, we mean page 71.
Page 71. All right.
So those of you that are following along, we are on page 71 of The Power of Now, chapter 4. So as we already shared, the format of this book, question and answer. There's a question and then Eckhart response. The question comes from people that he has spoken to in his seminars or people that have bought some of his, other stuff. So it's all out of that, right? Which just makes it really fun because it's like a real life. Like if you had all these questions for him, I have these questions for him. So I get it. So last time we wrapped up talking in chapter 3, we ended with talking about time. And if y'all remember, we went over psychological time and clock time, where psychological time is where we live in the future or the past. And clock time is like, what time is it right now? All right. A lot of us get caught up on the psychological time, which is when you start worrying about what you're going to do in the future, or you start stressing about what hasn't happened yet. And in this chapter, we get into some practical and tactical things we can keep in mind to be aware about your patterns and your behaviors so that you can know how to be more present in the now. If there's anything you need to know by now from the other chapters is that the key is to be present. And we are going to go over what that means.
I was super present all day today.
Where?
I got my fresh high top.
Yes, so let me know what y'all think about Basil.
But when I was at the barbershop, everything just looked brighter. I was able to hear the music more clearly. And even he has an example here about Eckhart, which we'll talk about later, but being able at night to hear crickets, sometimes I'm just like, oh, where did those crickets come from? It's like they've been there the whole time. So things are working. So
we've been using the strategies and
all right, 71, babe. What we got?
71. So the first thing I have on 71.
Get it out. Come on.
So Eckhart says to realize the truth, you need to live it. So I really highlighted that because I felt like a lot of times we like to live in theory. Like, oh, if we do this, this is going to happen. Nothing's going on here yet. If we do this, nothing's going to happen. Something's going to happen. If we behave in a certain way, what if we do this and what if we do that? But it's not until you are actually in it that you really experience what's going on with you. You can hypothesize all you want about what it's like to launch a business, what it's like to get married, what it's like to have kids. But it won't be until you actually get married, until you actually have kids, until you launch a business, that you're going to learn what that process is like. And this actually reminded me of a line that one of our mentors shared with us. The truth is found in combat, where he says, you find the truth when you are in the fight. Like if you are once you're in it, that's when you figure out what works and what doesn't work and what do you need to do to keep it going. So I really connected with that line because I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with getting into the fight. I like to spend a lot of time planning and thinking and doing all this other pre stuff. Like in my mind, that's work. It's sort of like I
Mhm.
confuse talking about the work with doing the work.
Right.
But when you actually do the work, you learn what it is that you have going on. Brings me to another line, another quote that one of our mentors shared with us. Understanding does not lead to action, but action leads to understanding. So if you don't understand, you can understand something, but that doesn't mean you're going to act on it. But if you act on it, you're going to understand it much better than someone that's just looking at it as a concept or a theory. So that's the first thing that
I have highlighted right above that. Intellectual agreement is just another belief and won't make much difference in your life. So it speaks right to what you were saying, is that, you know, you don't find out the truth till you actually step into the arena, till you actually get into the fight and you actually start tackling these goals, because before then it's just talk, and we can agree on something, but until we actually get punched in the face, like Mike Tyson says, you know, it's hard, or we will never know what truth it really is.
Right. So the next thing I highlighted, go to the next thing.
All right. So what I got here is tomorrow bills are not the problem. The disillusion of the physical body is not a problem. Loss of now is the problem, or rather, the core delusion that turns a mere situation, event, or emotion into a personal problem and into suffering. Loss of now is the loss of being. So anytime that we're not in the now, we're not truly being ourselves, because we're so caught up in the things that we have. So the bills of tomorrow, the water bill, the goals that we're trying to get tomorrow. Oh, they popped up. Look at that. The dissolution of these problems in the physical body is not the problem. The loss of the now is the problem. So whenever we're in the future, that's when we're actually experiencing the pain. Whenever we're in the past, that's when we're experiencing the pain. Because right now, if you think about it, just in this present second moment, you don't have any pain, right? Unless you're like physically ill. I'm not physically ill. You don't have any pain. It's just the thought of, oh, I got to go do those dishes later, or I got to go pick up the kids and do all these errands. I don't want to do that stuff. So that's where the pain comes from. Or thinking about the things in the past, maybe mistakes that you have made or things you wish you would have done differently. Thinking about those things also brings up that pain.
And that's important because it connects to what we talked about yesterday, where you're thinking about the future, but you're thinking about it right now. So if you start thinking I need to pay this bill next month, you're bringing that worry from next month until this moment. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to leave it into the future. You bring the future to your present, and you rob yourself of what you could be thinking about in this moment, because you are focused on bringing of this anticipation that's in the future. And one thing that I wanted to mention about that too, I lost my train of thought. So now my situation turns into a situation, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, come back to me later.
All right. So to be free of time is to be free of the psychological need of the past for your identity and the future for your fulfillment. And he says that because a lot of times we take us as being as who we are based on the things we've done in the past, our accomplishments, our successes, our failures. And people, when they look at JP, oh, JP, you've done X, Y, Z, or, when they look at your path, that's what people think makes who you are. And then for us, it's looking in the future. We think that our future goals are going to give us fulfillment. What we do in the future is what's going to make us happy. In this chapter, he's like, no, bruh, it's really the present that's really going to make you happy, and keep striving for that fulfillment. You're going to obtain it, and then you're going to look up and still say, I'm not really fulfilled.
I just put a note on that, and it was, you're not your past, and fulfillment does not come from your future. And the reason why I wrote that down is because, I don't know if y'all noticed, but the mind does not know when you imagine something or remember it. The mind doesn't know if it's happening right now or if it's happening in the past or the future. The mind doesn't make that distinction. The mind just perceives what you are imagining or what thoughts are in there, and he like lets those ride, right? So if I start thinking right now about you know this. If you can think of someone telling you a story and they'd be like, I remember like it was yesterday, and they start telling you the story, and if it's a sad story, you can see them start crying about it. Like you can see them feeling that emotion. That's because to the mind, it's happening in real time. The mind is experiencing that emotion in real time. That person is not in the past imagining that thing. The person is in the present right now imagining that thing. And that's why it seems like it was yesterday because they are seeing it in that moment. So anytime you are going in the past for either a happy memory or a sad memory, you're gonna feel that memory in the present, in the now moment, because the brain doesn't know that it's in the past. And that's why when people start focusing on their past failures, that can really keep them from achieving what they want to achieve, because in the mind, it's like, you suck at this, you're not good at this. The mind does not know that time has passed where you have gotten better, because you're pulling out of that memory from the past. So if you take nothing else from this particular conversation, understand that the mind cannot tell the difference between the past and the present. And whatever is in your mind and you're remembering about the past is going to feel very alive, because the mind doesn't know that there's a difference between right now and the past. There is no time in the mind. Ooh, there's no time in the mind.
There's no time in the mind.
There's no time in the mind. The time is always now in the mind. When you're thinking about something.
There is time in the mind. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There is no time other than in the mind. We made it up.
Well, we focus on the time, but there's no like the time. The mind can be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna worry about this because this was last week or this was 2 months ago. The mind is just like, hey, we need to worry right now because we're going back to that memory of worry. So we have to feel those emotions. Yeah. All right. So what I have is, one thing that Eckhart says, you become aware of just how rarely your attention is truly in the now. How many of us go our day to day without fully being present in the moment? How many of you might be like, you're watching TV, you're on the computer, you're on your phone, all at the same time. And as all the things are going on, you're not really present in the moment, because if I asked you something about the TV show, you wouldn't know because you weren't paying attention. If I asked you something about the computer, you may or may not know. If I ask you about what's on the phone, you may or may not know. So a lot of us are rarely in the present moment and available. We are relying on our patterns and our habits to kind of do things for us. Like, it's like when you start cooking and you just do something else at the same time. You're relying on the fact that you already know how to do this. So you're not present. You're not present during the process. So what happens is that you miss out on what you can extract from whatever you're doing because you're distracted. There's distractions all over the place. Michelle is like, yeah, that's me. Girl, that used to be me too. JP is now more like adamant about, if we're eating, we're just eating. We're not eating and watching something else. Before, we used to do that. We would like have lunch and watch a video while we were eating at the same time. But if you are eating and you're watching something, one thing doesn't have your attention, because your attention can only go to one thing at a time. That's
why you're biting your lip and biting your tongue and missing and biting on forks and shit, because you're not fully present.
Your attention can only go to one thing at a time. So if you think you're splitting your attention, you're not. Your attention is only going to go to one thing, and you have to be intentional about what that thing is, because if not, your mind's going to pick for you. So that's one reason why a lot of people be like, oh, I watched this, but I don't remember seeing that happen. You weren't fully present. You were not paying attention. You were not really in the experience. So you only got what you caught. You didn't get what you could have got from whatever that was. So that spoke to me. The other thing that I saw was, he says, no, to know that you are not present is a great success. So if you are like watching something and you're like, hey, I'm not present doing this, that is already major progress.
Major steps.
Because a lot of people think that not being present is the norm. A lot of us think this is normal. It's normal when we do not have to do this, or it's normal when we do not have to do that. Like, it's normal to just get caught up in all of that. But in reality, it isn't. So that kind of becomes a bit of an issue.
Michelle says, I have to tell the hubby that we need to eat and no TV.
Yeah, girl, tell him. And it's different because
it's ingrained in society. TV dinners, like TV trays, like it's already there. So yeah,
it's kind of it's funny because JP was just like, well, I kind of want quiet right now. That's really how it came out, that he wanted to experience more quietness, and that's what we were like, all right, let's cut the TV, and instead of doing that, whatever. It's gotten to the point that even when we're playing games, we don't really even play music anymore. We just like focus on the game, so I'm trying
to win.
Split our attention. Let's split our attention. So again, being focused. And what I want to say here was, but to know that you are not present is a great success. That knowing is presence. Even if initially it only lasts for a couple of seconds of clock time, and then it's lost again. Then with increasing frequency, you choose to have the focus of your consciousness in the present more moment rather than in the past or future. So what starts happening over time, the more you practice being present in the now, is that you can be present for longer periods of time. And when I say be present, I mean that your mind is not taking control. I mean that you are fully in the experience. You can hear, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can taste it. Like you could be in whatever thing you're going on. You are fully present, right? So what Eckhart says is that at the beginning, it's going to be challenging and you are only going to get little moments of that peace. But over time, the more you do it, the more present you're going to be and the more you're going to be able to experience that moment of just enjoying what's going on without worrying about the thinking mind. And I think I've gotten to the point right now where I'm a lot more present than I pretty much have ever been. Like right now, there's no mental chatter in my mind. Like I'm just here with you 100%. Yeah. So I think that's a product of how long it has taken me to get to that place. But again, you want to give yourself some grace. This is a process that a lot of people think is crazy. Some people will be like, what do you mean you don't have any, what do you mean it's possible that you're not always thinking? Like, how's it possible that your mind is not always like talking to you? Well, it is possible, but you have to be really conscious about it. And a lot of us are rarely conscious of what's happening in this moment because we are always thinking about what's going to happen later. And Eckhart says that we are constantly looking at things as a means to an end. So it's sort of like, I'm just here right now to do this little video until I do the next thing. Instead of just, this is the point. This is the video. We're doing this because this is the point of us being here with you. So take it away, Ponce.
So he goes on to start talking about ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. So remember, there are two types. What I call ordinary consciousness means by identifying with your thoughts, processes, and emotions, your reactions, and your aversions. So this is ordinary. So this is kind of everyday life. You know, you just going through the motions. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, like you don't hear the things that are going on. You don't hear the crickets. He gets into...
Wait. He even says it's most people's normal state.
Yes.
It's that I highlighted that part because a lot of us think that all that chatter, all of those, or the way we identify with our emotions, the way he made me feel this way, or she made me so mad, or she got on my nerves. Like all these things that we say, we think that's normal, and in reality, it isn't. But everybody's going through something like that. So we think that this is the way it needs to be. And
it's low level unease. So discomfort anytime that you're bored or you're nervous or any kind of background static.
I think about this like when people go to like job interviews or whenever you're about to have an experience with someone that intimidates you a little bit or you're feeling like, I don't know if you relate to that, but like the idea that when you meet someone,
I get nervous.
It's like it's uneasiness. Like when you go to a job interview and you're ready for them to call you your name, it's kind of like you have this comfort. Like your fingers might start fidgeting. Like you might start feeling like, oh my goodness, like am I gonna get this job? Am I not gonna get this job? Are they gonna like me? Are they not gonna like me? All of that. That's that subtle uneasiness that Eckhart talks about.
And then there's the unease of ordinary unconsciousness turns into the pain of deep unconsciousness, a state of more acute, more obvious suffering or unhappiness. When things go wrong, the ego is threatened, and there is a major challenge, threat, or loss, real or imagined, in your life situation.
Hey, baby.
So this is when you're dwelling on things that haven't gone wrong, things that you're looking in the future. You're thinking, what if? Yeah. And that's how you get into those states of depression where those thoughts start feeding on each other. And then you're just kind of, like you said, it's deep. So you get into that hole of being unconscious. And this is where more suffering, it's like, oh, you could change it, but you're in the suffering and the suffering feeds on it. The ego needs that suffering to keep itself alive.
What he says is, you may not realize this because it's so much a part of a normal living, just as you're not aware of a continuous low background noise, such as the hum of an air conditioner, until it stops. When it suddenly does stop, there's this sense of relief. You've had a background noise and you're like for example, we are on the first level and there's an AC unit next to us. And that joint be going off like all day, every day. And there are periods of time in Florida. There are periods of time where it like shuts down for like 20-30 minutes, I think. And whenever I get those 30-20 minutes, I just feel like an exhale, like I'm so glad that's quiet for as long as it's gonna be. And that's kind of what Eckhart says, that there are periods of time in our lives where there are things going on as a background, like an uneasiness, as a sound, like the AC. But then when he comes off, you feel the relief. And that's kind of the same thing that's happening with you. Okay, so he explains, JP just talked about ordinary one. Yep, what he calls ordinary unconsciousness. Then when he explains.
I started talking about the other one too.
He's talking about the other one too, right? So then he says, in ordinary consciousness, habitual resistance to or denial of what is creates the uneasy and discontent that most people accept as normal living.
There's that word again, resistance. Habitual resistance.
Yep.
Oh, I actually know I have that highlighted later on the next page, but it shows up even before that again.
Yeah,
so I missed it.
A number of times.
I missed that. I need to highlight that.
Yeah, it shows up a number of times.
Habitual resistance.
So this basically means that you don't like what's going on right now and you are resisting it.
Always.
All the time. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, a real life example. So yesterday I had an exchange with my best friend and he just kind of, my pain body just took over, y'all. Like I went off. It was really quick, but I went off. And after that interaction, JP and I had a conversation. We talked and I was like, and I shared what I was really upset about. And then I realized that one thing that Eckhart says is when things don't go your way, act like you wanted them to go that way. Mm-hmm. When things don't work out how you want them to work out, act like that's how you wanted the outcome to be, which is hard, right? Because some of us don't like that. Like this morning when I dropped 60% of my juice that I had, that I made.
Dropped all of the juice.
I was not happy about the juice. And then I told JP, I'm going to act as though I wanted to drop. Like that's what needed to happen, to drop the juice so that I can learn from that experience. And a lot of us are like, you can either take that approach or you could be mad. Oh, I can't believe this damn juice dropped. I'm so pissed about it, blah, 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 blah. But being angry is not going to help you because the juice is already full. It's out. It's done. Either you're going to make some more juice or you're going to release the fact that the juice fell. Like you cannot take that personally. And that's the thing that Eckhart is talking about here with this line.
And an example that happened today that shows, at least show for me, the habitual resistance that I have, even though I'm really trying to be present, is Bae wanted to, or she was like, hey, I want us to get moving on this idea, the things that we're talking about here, books with Bae. And my initial thought was, well, I have all these things I want to do with books with Bae. I want to work on the website. I want to do all this copy. And my initial mind was like, no, that's mine. I'm doing that. But then me being present was like, why are you attached to that? This is our project. So even on things where I'm trying to be like, hey, we're working together, and that's the whole point. So we don't have to do everything. The mind still is like, this is my project. I'm going to make sure it's the best thing and not let someone else control any part of it. So it even shows up today. It's
like the terrible twos, but for 30-year-olds. So that's that. Then he says you can use a challenge to awaken you. Oh yeah, this part, Jesus Christ.
We both have this highlighted.
You can use a challenge to awaken you, or you can allow it to pull you into a deeper state of sleep. The dream of ordinary unconsciousness then turns into a nightmare. So that means that if I'm telling Bae, hey, let's talk about this idea, and he's like, I'm not gonna let this challenge is not gonna awaken me. I'm gonna go deep into that. That's him creating more resistance to us having the conversation. Him creating more resistance to the things that we want to talk about, as opposed to just being like, okay, babe, let's have a conversation.
What I said. I was like, okay,
sure, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can get done or whatever.
I didn't say let's talk about it. I said just go ahead and do it. So I'm not to worry about it.
And I love this part because Eckhart says that your growth is defined by your challenges. Like it's not defined by how long you can meditate by yourself when you're not being bothered. It's when there is a challenge in your life. How do you respond? When people say something that makes you upset or that triggers you, how are you responding to that? That's really how you can measure your growth. And that's how you can see how much more do I need to go? Because some of us are cool when we are not interacting with other humans. But as soon as a human shows up, that's it. All the higher self-talk, all of that, I'm good. That's when shit hits the fan. Because you start getting like in your feelings, you start responding angry. That's really when it gets crazy. You're cool when you're sitting down at home having your cup of tea, but when you're driving and somebody cuts you off, are you flipping the finger? Are you like,
that's why I'm not driving anymore.
Or are you like, you know what, that person has somewhere to go, I understand, I'm at ease. Is that you? Or are you the person that is like honking them? And then I don't drive, but I've been in enough cars. Are you the person that's pulling up to them right next to the red light? Because I feel like they always end up at a red light. And then you side eyeing them and you're like.
And they're not looking at you.
And they're not looking at you because they know what they just did. You need to ask yourself, how do I behave when I'm being challenged? When you're talking to your partner, are you like, I'm kind and I'm coming to you from a space of understanding? Or are you like, oh no, this got me messed up because you're not about to do that to me? Are you tapping into petty patty? Or are you being a loving, kind person? So you have to ask yourself these questions. Go next because I have a lot. Oh, he says those challenges are your test. Those challenges are your test. And people say like, and I feel like people are saying I'm being tested. But are you passing the test? Or are you like not caring about the test? And Eckhart says these are the challenges that test you. If you cannot be present, even in normal circumstances, such as when you're sitting alone in a room, walking in the woods, or listening to someone, then you certainly won't be able to stay conscious when something goes wrong or are faced with a difficult situation. All of that means is that if you can't be chilling in your own presence, you're going to go off on the coworker that's pissing you off. The one that always comes talking to you. At the slightest. You know that coworker that is like morning time and they start talking to you and you be like, bro, can you like get out of my face?
I need some coffee, bro.
Can you please not engage with me? Thank you very much. That coworker, yeah, you're going to go off on them.
Go off.
All
right, you will find a great deal of resistance. There's that word again, resistance, in the form of judgment, discontent, and mental protection away from the now. On the emotional level, there will be an undercurrent of unease, tension, boredom, or nervousness. Both are aspects of the mind in its habitual resistance mode. There it is again.
The R word.
Even right now, my mind is like, yeah, we're resisting. We're going to resist. And I'm like, no, we're learning not to resist. So right now, my brain is resisting even at the moment. Even we're sitting here not even doing much. It's like, no, I don't want to believe that I'm habitually resisting. It's like, no, mind, you are.
Yeah,
you are.
The brain, the mind be wilding, yo. It's like thirsty to try to survive.
Survive, right?
The mind will set you up. The mind will have you single, broke, living under a bridge. Keep on letting it win. What else do you have on this page?
He also goes in to talk about.
I know. I thought about highlighting that part, but I didn't.
He said,
I can't highlight the whole book.
You can't. So he gives this example of a Native American he was talking to. This is the author of the book. And
no, he says Carl Jung was talking
to. Yeah, Carl Jung. Yes, Jung. And the conversation in one of his books was that a Native American says white people always have these tense looks on their faces, starring in their eyes, and cruel demeanor. He said they're always seeking something. What are they seeking? The whites always want something. They are always uneasy and restless. We don't know what they want. We think they're mad. And if you look at the history.
The receipts.
They have a lot of white people have been about conquest. Either it's coming to Africa, coming to America. It's
Latin America.
Everywhere, because they were colonizing everywhere. Just like they're uneasy, like there was more to be conquered. And it's like, what do you want? Eventually, there will be no more. And even today, you'll see it. There are things that people are still trying to conquer, and they're always uneasy, and they're always restless, and they're always trying to get to the next thing. I have some of that, that's why I'm going through this whole process and reading this book, is to get rid of some of that unease and restlessness about what's next in my life, and am I hitting my goals? Am I achieving the things that I wanted to achieve?
Which, can I say, is hard. I don't want to I don't know about y'all, but I'm reading this book. I've been on this path for about 2 years consciously, and it's a challenging thing because this programming that is within us is so strong. You've been taught some shit, and you've been learning it from so many different people, from your family, from your schools, from your job, from your university, from the streets, wherever it is that you get your guidance
from the streets,
and you're learning all these things that do not help you achieve this presence that Eckhart is talking about. Everything leads to not do that. Even the hustling mentality. I see people all the time saying things like, oh, I'll sleep when I die. Okay. All right. Sure. Like,
I'm gonna sleep right
I'm
now.
asleep tonight.
I'm sleep well tonight.
Like I hear people talking about, hustlers don't sleep. Hustlers always about the bag. Oh, you have to sacrifice all of these things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that you do not have to make sacrifices. I'm just saying that that's not what what life is about. Because you can hustle all you want and have $2 million, $10 million in the bank, and then let's say you drop dead the next day. Who's gonna enjoy those 10 millions you've been working for? Not you, because you can't take that to the grave, in case you've forgotten. They don't accept cash in heaven or wherever it is you're going.
How you know? You ain't been there.
Listen, I know because Steve Jobs ain't using his billions, and he been gone for a minute.
How you know what they accept up there?
Listen,
or
all I'm saying is,
or here
I
right
never
now.
heard about Jesus talk about what's the cash out.
All I know is heaven for me is right here, right now.
Exactly.
7-Eleven takes my card up the street.
So stupid.
Speaking of the homie Jesus.
Yes.
Why are we always anxious? Jesus asks his disciples. Can anxious thoughts add a single day to your life?
Oh my God. Oof.
Oh, look, we got Jesus and the Buddha.
Yes.
And the Buddha taught that the root of suffering is to be found in our constant wanting and craving.
Which makes sense because you always want shit. You're never going to be happy no matter how much stuff you got. You're always going to continue accumulating more and more things. Have you guys watched that show called Hoarders? This is a show on TLC for people that just hoard things.
My grandmother was a hoarder.
I feel like my mom was a bit of a hoarder.
My mom is
a bit of a hoarder. She's not extreme hoarder, but we have so much random things in the house. And I'm like, Mom, you don't need all this stuff. Give it away. Get rid of it. And she's like, no, don't throw away my stuff. Let me tell you, I told my mother, I will finance. Mind you, I don't even have the money to do this for her yet. I said, I will finance us refixing our house if you let me throw everything out. And my mom was like, nope, don't touch my stuff. Can you like process that? I told this woman I will, and there's some stuff that needs to be fixed in that house, by the way. But she's like, nope, don't touch my stuff. Again, our attachment to things.
There's a whole room. When you walk into the house, go to the right, there's a whole room just full of stuff.
So much stuff. So someone asked Eckhart, so how can we be free of this affliction? How can we be free? Oh, I see you see the R word again. Resistant to the now. How can we be free of all of this? And he says, you make it conscious. Observe the many ways in which unease, discontent, and tension arise within you through unnecessary judgment, resistance to what is, and denial of the now.
Some more resistance. Tell you, resistance. Hashtag resistance.
Hashtag resistance.
Or not hashtag resistance. Think about that.
No resistance.
No resistance.
Which is crazy a little bit.
Because the Democrats or the left wing whole thing was resist. You can't resist. It's going to happen anyway.
Also, what has that really done?
Absolutely
Trump is
nothing.
still in office
Still
last
president.
time I checked.
Still president.
Eckhart says, do you have more on that page?
Go ahead.
Make it a habit to monitor your mental emotional state through self-observation. Ask yourself, am I at ease in this moment? That's a question I've really been asking myself, like as often as once an hour. Depending on what I'm doing, I'm like, am I at ease? Does this make me feel at ease? And if it doesn't, I'm like, then why are we doing it? And like, if not, then I stop doing it. Because I think a lot of us think we have to do things. You don't gotta do shit. You think you have to do so many things. You don't have to do it. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. So I'm not going to, spill all the beans yet.
Or you can ask what's going on inside of me at this moment. Be at least as interested in what's going on inside of you as happens outside of you. Most of us are caught up in the outside world. So that's why media, we're consuming Facebook, Instagram, news. We're just like, give me more, give me more. And when we stop and when there's silence, and that's why silence for us is really big now. It's you're only there with you and your thoughts. And for some people, that's really scary. They don't want to take that look inside of what's going on inside of them because then they're going to have to either listen to it or they're going to have to deal with it. And either one of those is scary.
And if you believe your thoughts can be telling you to do some wild things. Like, death. Bang. If you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place. Primary reality is within, secondary reality without. I thought that was pretty deep.
Why is that?
Well, because I think a lot of us think that primary reality is without. We think that it's all about the external. We think it's all about success as defined by society and by this whole thing that's life. We think that it's this big thing. So for a lot of people define it as that, like what is the external truth, when in reality is how you feel inside about yourself. Like what's going on within you. That's the primary reality, which makes sense, because if internally you in a place where there's a lot of pain and hurt and darkness, then your external reality is going to reflect that, because you can't bring happiness and love if you don't feel that happiness and love within yourself.
Right.
So once you detect that there is a low level of unease or the background static, see in what way you are avoiding, resisting, or denying life by denying the now. Oh, I feel like Eckhart's always talking about me.
He is. He's always talking about you.
I feel like he's always talking about me. Like, I don't know what the deal is with him. Hey, Kanisha. This is Blue Spook. That we met in Atlanta. All right, so then we go into some questions. We are going through the power now, chapter 4. And he says, do you resent doing what you are doing? It may be your job, or you may have agreed to do something and are doing it, but part of you resents and resists it. Are you carrying unspoken resentment towards a person close to you? Do you realize that the energy you does emanate is so harmful that it affects that you are in fact contaminating yourself as well as those around you? Is there even the slightest trace of resentment and unwillingness? Mm-hmm. I am in a number of Facebook groups, and one of them particularly, a woman was like, how do you deal when you have so much resentment towards your spouse? And that's a word, resentment, that you've even used in our relationship, like not wanting to resent me because I am holding you back from doing whatever you envisioned at the time that I was holding you back from doing. And resentment, I think, is a clear indicator. If you're wondering, like, how to know if you're not living your best life, if you have resentment, you don't need resentment. You don't need to resent people. You don't need that to survive.
Yeah. And usually that resentment comes from some action that somebody didn't do to fulfill some future wish that you had. And so now you're looking back like, you didn't do that, and I resent you for not doing that.
Say the word. Do that next verse.
Go ahead. You got more.
I have, oh man. Is it an energy?
They highlight the whole book over
We
have 40 minutes. We've been like 3 pages.
Stop it. Okay, I'm gonna move on down a little bit. There's so much in this chapter, y'all. Like, I'm gonna have to reread this one alone on my own later. One question that Eckhart states is it an energy that you will actually choose to have inside you? Do you have a choice? Which I thought it was really powerful, because a lot of people don't feel like they have a choice. They just kind of feel like, this is my life. This is the life I was born into. I have to feel these emotions. I don't have a choice on what's going on. And in reality, a lot of us do. We all have a choice, but we may not perceive that we have a choice because our life situation gives us the illusion that we don't. So I thought that was really powerful, because a lot of times you have things going on and you're like not even considering whether or not you have a choice on this. So, all I'm going to say is, he says, the fact is that when you are resisting what is, you are making the present moment into an enemy. You are creating unhappiness, conflict between the inner and outer. I thought that was pretty powerful, because when you're resisting the now, you're not learning. You're not learning from what's going on, because you don't want to acknowledge that this is the reality. If you were homeless, well, I don't say homeless, but if you, for example, if you are currently in the business and you're not making the money you want to be making, you may be resisting the now, because you don't have the outcome that you expected you were going to have. And now you cannot really put all your energy into manifesting what you want, because you're so focused on what you don't have. So that's something that I connected with.
He then goes on to talk about the pollution of the planet is only an outward reflection of our inner psychic pollution. Millions of unconscious individuals not taking responsibility for their inner space.
Are you taking responsibility for your inner space? How's your inner space? Are you responsible for that? What's going on? What's going on?
It reminds me of, there's a phrase when, don't talk about other people's houses if your house isn't in order.
Don't throw stones at a glass house or something like that.
Something like that. So really, this is about looking inside and what kind of things are going on inside of you. What kind of things are you thinking about? Is it positive or is it negative? The negative thing is the pollution. So no wonder there's pollution on the outside world. That's only an outward manifestation of what we have inside. And a lot of times, whenever I would see people littering in places, I would be like, why Why do people litter? Why don't they? We have trash bins. Why don't we keep the place looking nice? You know, you don't litter at your home, but you know that just goes to people's mindset. Some people actually do litter in their home. I'm not going to say that because we walk. There's an apartment that we walk past, and you can see like they have trash stacked up on their patio, and they think it's hidden. And it's like, no, everybody can see the pollution, and we're all affected by it. And so that pollution then goes from, you know, we're not just talking about carbon and things like that. We're talking about getting into like wars and murders and any type of violence. That's also pollution that is outwardly manifested based on our inner thoughts and what's going on within us. He then goes on to say, either stop doing what you're doing, speak to the person concerned and express fully what you feel, or drop the negativity that your mind has created around the situation and that serves no purpose whatsoever except to strengthen a false sense of self. You got that one highlighted too, Ben?
I have it underlined from a previous reading. What I do have is negativity is never the optimum way of dealing with any situation.
Right.
Anything that is done with negative energy will become contaminated by it, in time give rise to more pain and unhappiness. And yeah, that's what I have. But for what you shared, I can't even say anything else about that. Just drop that negativity.
So if humans clear the inner pollution, then they also cease to create the outer pollution. Ooh. So as soon as we as individuals get our lives together, the collective whole will be good. Now, let's start that journey. It's hard though.
It is. It's really challenging.
Particularly if people, you know, you're watching this, we're here, we're consciously going through this and we want to learn, but you know, there are a number of people who not only know about these things, they're just like, I still don't want that. I still want to continue living my life the way it is. I want to continue living in sorrow, and I'm going to continue to pollute because that's their mind state. And
it's also, who am I when I'm not that person, right?
Right.
When I don't have that cloth over me.
When I don't have problems.
What am I doing when I don't have problems? What am I going to complain about?
I'm not going to get any attention if I don't have any problems.
Exactly.
No one's gonna help me if I don't have any problems.
Eckhart says, any negative inner state is contagious. So if you got some negativity, this contagious. It moves so fast.
It's going around.
You are responsible for your inner space, nobody else. And that was really major because I think a lot of people think other things are responsible, whether it is your race, your gender, your job, where you live, all these things we think that are responsible for our inner space. And it's us. That's your job. You got to take care of you. You got to take care of you more than you got to take care of anybody else, because without you, what is it left? You know, and I think a lot of us take joy in saying, oh, I'm the last person to take care of myself. Like, I'm always caring for other people. We see that as a badge of honor, when in reality, it isn't. It is a manifestation of the power that you've given to other people to control your actions. It's not worthy of a medal that you never give yourself time because you're giving your time to everybody else all the time. No, it's more about how much time you're giving yourself, because how can you pour into other people when you're not pouring into yourself? How can you love other people when you don't love yourself? How can you believe in other people when you don't believe in yourself? It's not genuine. It's not honest, because it's not real. And as Eckhart stated in chapter 3, what's real can be threatened. So, you know what I mean?
Over that, just that neck. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Get with it. Get with it.
I'm on the next page. Come on, babe.
Okay.
What you got right there? What you got?
I had deep unconsciousness, such as the pain body or other deep pain, such as the loss of a loved one, usually needs to be transmuted through acceptance combined with the light of your presence, your sustained attention. So I highlighted this because, you know, I've experienced the death of a loved one, and I see how much that has impacted my own growth and how that pushed me to surrender and stop resisting the fact that it is what it is. That person I love is not here anymore. Even like with my dad, you know, my biological father, who passed away many years ago. Now, I think part of me was still resisting a little bit that I can't talk to him and I can't get to know him and those other things. And I think now I'm finally in a space where it's like, no, it is what it is, but you can find other ways to connect if you wanted to. And I did. I spoke to someone and they gave me some information about him. So I think that that really opened up my eyes to the fact that resistance can show up in so many different ways. It's not just saying, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like doing it, but having an attitude, doing it, and like, hoping it was different, wishing it was different. And I think that has been a little bit of an eye-opener for me. And death has the power to help us do that. When people die, we have a unique opportunity. When people leave the physical world, we have a unique opportunity to like learn and release our attachment to them. And that's not always the case. There are people that are still holding on to people that died 50 years ago. And that doesn't make their life any easier. They're still sad and hurting and not living the life of their dreams, because they think that in order for them to keep that person's memory alive, they have to suffer. It's almost like if you give it up, if you stop suffering, you let them die, and something is wrong with that. Well, since they already did, so
almost like they won't let them die.
They won't let them die.
That reminds me. I was dating a woman, and she had a lot of issues around, or I'm saying situation around
life situations
around the death of her father, which was, when she was younger, she felt like she didn't get to have a father. And so even when we were dating, there would be times where she would just kind of out of nowhere, or not out of nowhere, it would be a different conversation, whatever, she would get sad. And then the dad feelings would come up. And at the time, I didn't know how to deal with it,
Right. You didn't have the power now.
I didn't have the power now. I didn't have the power of presence to know how to best help her. But, on that same coin, we all have to, as you just say, babe, we have to let people go. You have to let people go.
Because then you also don't know how that keeps them in this plane either. If everything is connected, your inability to let people go can really be hindering their moving on to the next stage or whatever it is they got going on. So, also a plane. All right, babe, what you got next for us?
You ahead of me. Go ahead.
I am?
Yeah.
All right. So I have, once a mind pattern, an emotion or reaction is there, accepted, you are not conscious enough to have the choice in the matter. That's not a judgment, just a fact. If you had a choice or realize that you do have a choice, will you choose suffering or joy, ease or unease, peace or conflict?
What's it gonna be?
Word. So essentially for me on this section, Eckhart is pushing us to ask ourselves, do you have a choice? If you, at the beginning, you may not have a choice. Your mind may have such hold on you that it's really difficult for you to really feel these emotions and to like keep them from taking over. But once that happens, accept it. It has taken over, and then grow from it, right? So yesterday I shared about me and my best friend going back and forth a little bit. But once I realized what was going on, I dropped it. I learned from it, and then I let it go. And I'm done with it. Like yesterday, I was done with it pretty quickly. So a lot of us don't do that because we choose unease over ease. We choose conflict over joy because it's more entertaining to some people too. Like you gotta go the back and forth and the drama and the meat.
People love drama. That's why reality TV shows are so popular. It's just the inner pollution is coming out, and we're entertained by it because we're just so caught up in it in the world. What do we expect? That's how it is.
Right. You got it.
How is it possible that humans killed in excess of 100 million fellow humans in the 21st century or the 20th century alone? Humans inflicting pain on such magnitude on one another is beyond anything you can imagine. And that's not taking into account the mental, emotional, and physical violence, the torture, pain, cruelty that continues to inflict on each other, as well as other sentiments beings on a daily basis. We're doing it to ourselves, guys.
Every day.
We're hurting ourselves. And we say we don't want the pain. We say we don't want the stress and the struggle. But I think we do. Because once again, that ego, and once that pain body gets attached to it, you may not personally want to, but that your ego is not going to let go.
Yep. Like being petty. We make a joke out of it all the time. But people love being petty. And pettiness is a magnification of your ego. Your ego is the one that wants to be petty. You won't let it go. Your ego wants to be right. And if your ego wants to be right, that means that the other person needs to be what? Wrong. So
two people can't be right. Somebody has to be wrong.
And as we discussed in chapter 2, the need to be right is what? A form of violence. So let's go on.
We got some shared highlights on the other page. Go ahead.
Mine starts with humans are dangerously insane and very sick.
Very
species.
sick. Dangerous.
This is not a judgment, it's a fact. It is also a fact that the sanity is there underneath the madness. Healing and redemption are available right now. That's what I got.
Sounds like baptism right there. Redemption and available right now if you come forth to the front of the church. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit that goes on, and you just look at it and you scratch your head, particularly around some of these wars that we have between the different countries,
some of the shootings,
and the things we do to each other, to the people we say we love. Like these are the people in our family and our friends, and we still do some of these things, even though we say that these are the people who are closest to us.
Even people that want to help us, we still hurt them because we feel like it's justified. And Eckhart gets into this a little bit later, so I'm not going to spill the beans. So I'm going to go to the next part. When you have been practicing acceptance for a while, as you have, there comes a point when you need to go on to the next stage, where those negative emotions are not created anymore. If you don't, your acceptance just becomes a mental label that allows your ego to continue to indulge in unhappiness and to strengthen itself of separation from other people, your surroundings, your here and your now. As you know, separation is the basis for the ego's sense of identity. The ego needs you to think that you're different from me. You think you're different from your neighbor. You're different from your siblings. The ego needs that, because if you start thinking maybe we are the same, maybe they deserve more grace, maybe they deserve more compassion, that means that the ego is going to die. And we know the ego wants to be alive. So that is something that really resonated with me.
What you got on page 81?
And if you really knew, this is for the people that be like, I'm gonna be good, including myself. Once again, I feel like Eckhart is reading me.
He's
all the time. He's just talking about me every single chapter, every single word. And we always this book is for me, by the way. I'm sharing it with y'all, but
dedicated to
it's
Nori.
Really for me.
It says it in the beginning.
Yep, to Nori. This is Nori, you need this to make it book. That's what Eckhart says in page 1. A lot of us say things like, oh, I know I'm going to be good. I know I'm going to be taken care of. To which Eckhart says, if you really knew deeply that everything is okay, as you put it, and which of course is true, then will you have those negative feelings in the first place?
Nope.
Without judgment, without resistance to what is, they will not arise. You have an idea in your mind that everything is okay, but deep down, you really don't believe it. And so the old mental emotional patterns of resistance are still in place. That's what makes you feel bad. So a lot of us feel bad because we don't really believe that things are going to be okay for us. We're feeling bad because we're panicking inside. We're like, yeah, it's going to be great. That's how we really feel inside. You don't really believe it. When you really do believe it, you don't feel bad, and you have the sense of easiness. Like I can sense that right now I have a little bit of unease, and it's like it comes from where we are in the business, and that's probably why I told JP I wanted to talk about some of this other stuff. It comes out of that sense of unease, but that only comes because deep inside I still don't fully believe that we're gonna be okay, and I have to be honest about that. That's what it means to not resist. Is not resist the fact that that feeling is there, because I didn't have a choice for that feeling, but I can acknowledge that feeling and let that feeling go. So, moving on.
Page 82.
I have something on the top. Are you defending your right to be unconscious, your right to suffer? I just really connected with that, because I think a lot of us are just defending our right to be mad, a right to be upset, a right.
You don't know me. You don't know me or my problems.
Exactly. Or my life situations. A lot of us just want to defend the right to do that. And Eckhart says nobody's going to take that away from you. You can be mad if you want to. You have the right to do that. But does it serve you? Does it serve you to worry?
What's the point? It doesn't make you more money. It doesn't get you further to your goal to worry about it.
Not at all.
So why even do it?
See, okay, babe, go ahead. Where you at next?
All right, so wherever you are, be totally there. See if you can catch yourself complaining, oh my God, in either speech or thought about the situation you find yourself in, what other people do or say, your surroundings, your life situation, even the weather. To complain is always non-acceptance of what is. And we can't control what is. It just is. We're here. We're in Florida. It's raining today. We can't control that. You may be tired. I'm hungry. I can't control that, but not right here, right now, as I'm here with the video. So, we have to be totally, and he says, be there totally. And as I mentioned earlier, at the barbershop, I was there totally. Like, I heard the clippers in my ears. I hear the music playing in the background. The lights were even brighter. I picked up on some other conversations that I hadn't before when I was there for some of the other people in other chairs. So just being there, you start to pick up more. And I have a friend who complains a lot. And when we used to work together, she would always complain about, oh, things aren't going right for me. But I'm like, you make more money than me. You have a bit higher position than me. You get to travel every week. So how are things not going well for you? Why are you always complaining about it? And it's, whatever happened to be the situation, she was going to complain about it regardless. So that's just the ego telling us I need more. I'm supposed to have more. And where I'm at right now isn't where I'm supposed to be.
When you complain, you make yourself into a victim. And when you speak out, you are in your power. So change the situation by taking action or by speaking out if necessary or possible. Leave the situation or accept it. All else is madness.
It's madness.
It's madness.
Don't drive yourself crazy.
Leave. People don't want to leave. Honestly, people don't want to leave.
People don't want to leave because they're thinking about the future again. What it's going to be like if I don't have that person, or looking in the past and remember, I remember what it was like to be single.
Is it worse than being in a terrible relationship with someone that does not love you or care about you or give you the things that you feel you deserve? Is it worth the trade-off?
Right now, that sounds like a good idea, but next week, who's gonna hold me? Who's gonna take me to dinner?
Who's gonna check? Who's gonna curl with you at night?
Who's gonna keep me warm at night?
Your degrees and your books can't keep you warm at night, as much as we wish they did. If you find you're here and now intolerable and it makes you unhappy, you have 3 options, according to Eckhart.
Number 1.
Remove yourself from the situation.
Number 2.
Change it.
Or number 3.
Accept it totally. If you want to take responsibility for your life, you must choose one of those 3 options, and you must choose now. Then accept the consequences. No excuses, no negativity, no psychic pollution. Keep your inner space clear. I think people...
Accepting, that's the hardest part.
I think accepting the consequences.
That's what I'm saying. Accepting,
okay. Yeah, accepting those consequences is really hard for folk because you wanna avoid any pain, any suffering that you can when you make your decision.
And you want things to be mapped out exactly how you have them in your mind. You have this plan of how things are going to work, and you exactly want it to happen. I'm imagining my next 5 steps to my business, and it's going to happen exactly like that.
It won't.
It won't. It never does. Nothing in life happens exactly how we envision it in our head.
Yeah. Any action is often better than no action, especially if you've been stuck in an unhappy situation for a long time. In Spanish, they have this saying that is like, it's better that you have someone whose drama you already know instead of going for someone who you don't know. It's like the direct translation is a little off, but essentially the idea is that it's better to be with someone whose bullshit you already know instead of finding someone and getting like new bullshit. And that's a manifestation of us feeling like, let me just stay in it. Isn't there a song that be like, I'd rather stay with you and know your bullshit? Like we make music about this. Like we rather stay with people and their mess instead of leaving and finding our joy, because we think that it's less complicated to stay with other people.
That's what the ego's telling us.
That's what the ego is telling you. But it ain't.
Action arises out of insight into what is required is more effective than action arising out of negativity.
That's a word.
Action arising out of negativity. So we know what this is. Anytime that your mind is being negative. So fights, he talks about this pollution. And it doesn't have to be fight. It could just be, negative words and the energy that you're putting out. So that action of negativity versus the action out of insight, learning more about yourself, those actions are going to build on top of each other versus the negative actions, which gets back to that being petty and that continued downward spiral that we are easily able to get on.
Is on me next. The false unhappy self that loves feeling miserable, resentful, or sorry for itself can no longer survive in the now. This is called surrender. Surrender is not weakness. There's great strength in it. Only a surrendered person has a spiritual power. Through surrender, you will be free internally of the situation. You may then find that the situation changes without effort on your part. In any case, you are free.
Be free.
Surrender.
Be free.
And I mean, if we're gonna really talk about it, surrender is challenging because particularly I think millennials, we have been taught to have expectations. We have been told that things are gonna work a certain way for us. And it could be really hard to get to the promised land and it ain't there for you. If you have been expecting to get a certain outcome out of a situation and you have been taught that that's the action you're going to get out of the situation and it doesn't happen that way, it's going to be hard for you because you've already built your expectation around that outcome going down in that way. And suddenly you have to face the reality that that's not how you went down. And that can be really hard, especially if you already built a whole world around that thing. That whole world is crashing down. That one thing itself might not be the issue, but the whole world you have created around your expectation, that's what's gonna hurt you because that world is not gonna happen. If you had an expectation that something was gonna happen in a very specific way and then it doesn't, that throws your whole plan off. And that's why being in the future is so difficult to cope with because it's not real. It can change at any moment. So you really attaching yourself to the future doesn't help you at all because at any moment the future can change. And when the future changes, your expectations are going to be hurt because you had expectations about how the future was going to work. So really, really not having expectations is one thing that I think Eckhart invites us to do here. He says, is there something that you should be doing that you are not doing? Get up and do it now. Alternatively, completely accept your inactivity, laziness, or passivity at the moment, if that is your choice. If you're going to be lazy then. Don't do it. Don't do nothing. I think we have taken on the lazy journey, a challenge, the being present challenge for us in the last few weeks. And we're just going to do it. We're going to really, really do this thing instead of half-ass doing it. And I think that has been the reason why we've been able to gain so much of this experience. I also have here, resistance equals negativity. That's what I wrote down. Either way, there's no inner conflict, no resistance, no negativity. So do what you got to do and enjoy it. If you're going to work and enjoy the work. If you're going to go out and enjoy yourself. Don't be thinking about what you could be doing and what you should be doing. Just give yourself fully to whatever you're doing. If stress is caused by being here, by wanting to be there, or being in the present, or wanting to be in the future.
Right now, my body's battling. They want to be in the kitchen eating, or my body wants to be in the kitchen eating. Yeah, I am hungry.
You gonna make it?
Yeah.
All right, we got a few more pages.
As long as we don't go another hour here.
We're not. We got a few more pages. Like 4, which can mean anything.
Which could mean an hour. Watch your mind. It may say you should be working. You are wasting time. Observe the mind, and smile at it. That's me. For sure.
Yep, this is for big.
My mind is always telling me you should be working. Even when we're relaxing, watching TV, the mind is like, oh, what about that thing we got to do tomorrow? Oh, Did you finish that thing you had to work on today? Nope, you didn't finish it. Bad boy. You should have did your work.
Naughty.
So it's hard, but being present helps with it. The last page talks about not doing stuff. So for me, it's been most people may need to be present so they can accomplish stuff. For me, I had to be present to not do stuff. I had to be present to not get caught up in, the dishes haven't been washed or the place doesn't look immaculate, So I'm learning to kind of let that stuff just be like it's there. And at any time I choose, I could come back and do it. But for now, we're just going to be present and not let it annoy us.
I highlighted the whole next paragraph, but I'm not going to read it for y'all. It's on page 84 in case you're following along. But essentially in this paragraph, Eckhart says, are you obsessing with the past? Are you constantly telling stories of your good days or your bad days? Are you constantly identifying with things that happened to you before? Is the present so painful or nerve-wracking for you that you rather continue to relive those old memories, whether they are positive memories or negative memories, because you know them? Mm-hmm. And that's something that a lot of us do. It's not always so that taught me that it's not always just negative feelings, negative reminders of the past. It's also the positive ones too. So it's not just being like, oh, I had a really tough childhood, but it's also like, oh man, I loved it. It was so great back in those days. Mm-hmm. Oh, back in those days, how many of us hear that line, right?
Back in my day,
hip hop used to be real music.
Back in my day,
R&B used to be real music. Blah 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 used to be real. Not everything is fake. It's not. Everything is. It's the same. It's the same.
It's the same. History repeats itself
over and over.
Everything now is just visions of the past.
Are you worried? Do you have many what if thoughts? You identify with your mind, which is projecting itself into an imaginary future situation and creating fear.
When I read that, I just was like out loud, just like a big bruh, because I've talked to many clients on the phone, or potential clients, and what if this goes wrong? What if that? What if I don't do that? What if we don't be successful? And they get into this what if, what if, what if. And if you keep doing that, if you're just identifying with the mind thoughts, it's going to freeze you from ever really taking any action.
Because there is no way that you can cope with such situation because it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. It's in the future.
You're just creating fear, creating more fear.
Ask yourself what problem you have right now. Not next year, not tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now. What is wrong with this moment? You can always cope with the now, but you can never cope with the future. Nor do you have to. How liberating is that? That you don't have to cope with the future. You don't have to cope with all the things that you make up that may happen later. Mm-hmm. The answer, the strength, the right action, or the resource will be there when you need it, not before and not after. This really ministered, I guess, to me today, because I think part of me has an uneasiness right now. No, I talked about this already. There is a sense of uneasiness that is kind of coming over me as I'm like, all right, let's jump into gear with this. Mm-hmm. Let's take this project into action, right? Which is great. That Bay is like, let's hold back a little bit so that we can balance each other out on it. But this really forced me to ask myself, like, maybe the resources are not there yet because you don't need them yet. And a lot of times we want to force our way through resources. We want to force our way through situations, and that doesn't always help. So I think that has been a really powerful piece for me to read on this chapter, because I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't need all those millions of dollars that I want right now. Mm-hmm. Just yet. Just yet.
Are you a habitual waiter?
Mm-hmm.
How much of your life do you spend waiting?
Hey.
And we've all had that. I've been waiting for you. I'm waiting on you to do this. I'm waiting on you to do that. Mm-hmm. And, what he's saying here is that, do I have something highlighted on the next page? Yeah. Waiting is just a state of mind. Basically, it means that you want the future. You don't want the present. You don't want what you've got, and you want what you haven't got. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was a little crazy. That means like I don't want to be here present with my wife. I don't want to be here in Florida where I'm living, enjoying the beach and the sunshine. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be here doing the things that I'm doing because, my state of mind says I'm just waiting for my break. I'm waiting to make it.
Mm-hmm. To move into our beachfront house.
Right. After 6 months. And as you said, it's just a state of mind. So he also said, anytime someone tells you, thank you for waiting, just say, no, I wasn't waiting. I was enjoying myself, or enjoy, INJOY, in myself.
Yeah, that was right. I like that one. It is not uncommon for people to spend their whole life waiting to start living. Think about the concept of retirement.
That was actually one of the main reasons for me trying to get to a certain goal, because I was like, I don't want to work for 30, 40 years and then have to live my life to enjoy the money that I have and enjoy the things of the world. 65, my grandfather, when he retired, all he did was kind of sit around. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he was enjoying life or not, but that was something that kind of prompted me to be like, you know, I want to make sure that even when I do retire, I'm out enjoying life so I can extend my life and not just be kind of sitting around waiting for life to happen to me.
Right. Life is your deepest inner being. It is already whole, complete, perfect. Your life situation consists of your circumstances and your experiences. You can improve your life situation, but you cannot improve your life. I think that's the one thing I'm having the toughest time not resisting. I remember yesterday I was like, I'm not resisting anything. Now suddenly I have a whole slew of things I'm resisting.
There's always resistance, particularly in our
house,
where we're at right now.
In the space in which we are in. This was really eye-opening for me because a lot of us think that our life is the problem. And I think we talked a little about this in chapter 3. When in reality, it's the situation that we can change. We can't change the fact that we are alive. I can't change the fact that I'm Black or I'm a woman or those things about me I cannot change. But I can change my husband if I wanted to. I can change where I live if I wanted to. I can change the color of my nails if I hated them. I could change my hair if I wanted to. But there are certain things I cannot change. And the things you cannot change, that's life. But the things you can, those are your life situations. And a lot of us confuse it and think that we cannot change our life because we cannot change our life situation because we cannot change our life. Instead of just saying, well, I can't change these things over here, but what can I change over here? And how do I do that? So that really, really spoke to me. And he says, the mistake lies. One thing, I'm going to go back. There is nothing wrong with setting goals and striving to achieve things. The mistake lies in using it as a substitute for the feeling of life for being. I'm really grateful that Eckhart included this because reading this book, it could seem to the person reading it that there is like this apprehension or disconnect between wanting to like have your goals and maybe you do want to make money and you want to have all these other things. And at points, I'm like, okay, am I wrong for feeling that? Like, what's going on with this? But what Eckhart says is like, you can have that. Just don't think that's going to make you happy. Right. Don't think that's the thing that you need in order to experience true joy and inner peace. If you want to make $1 billion, boo, go ahead, make $1 billion. All right. But don't believe that just because you make that $1 billion, you're going to be happy and you're going to have inner peace, because billionaires have talked about how they are billionaires and they don't have that joy. They don't have that peace. They still have to go find it. So the money is not the answer. You can pursue it. You can do whatever you want, but don't put the pressure or expectation that that's going to give you the joy and the peace of mind that you're looking for. And I really appreciate him saying that. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been more like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to get back into the working world. And by working world, obviously, I mean working with Bay and taking this project a little bit off the ground.
I'm not calling it work anymore. It's the stuff we enjoy to do.
We don't call it work anymore. We need to find a new name for it.
The stuff we enjoy to do.
The stuff we enjoy to do. So I feel like I'm more ready to tap into the stuff I enjoy doing because it doesn't have that pressure to make me happy. And I think I remember when I launched the podcast and you were like, well, do you want to monetize your podcast? And I was like, I don't want to put that pressure on the podcast. I just want to do my conversations, have fun without no real purpose or reason for me to attach it to money. And I think that's where that was coming from at the time. But now I understand that you can do that. Just don't have the expectation that that's going to give you something that it's not going to give you.
Moving on. On the page. We already talked about that.
Yep, moving on. I'm on 88.
Yeah, me too. Go ahead.
So I have here.
On 88?
Yes. Because I have some. Let me try to keep you in the track. What is this talk about? The ego? Oh, the false sense of self based on mind identification lives on time. It knows that the present moment is its own death, and so it feels threatened by it. It will do all that it can to take you out of it. It will try to keep you trapped in time. This is important because you need to be ready for war. I'm not even joking. Like, in order for you to become the guardian, in order for you to like take control and be fully present in the now, you're gonna be prepared to have to be a warrior and be vigilant of what's going on in the mind and how are you interacting in your day-to-day with yourself. And that isn't easy if you haven't been trained on how to do that. So I highlighted that because it was important for me to just have that reminder for myself that the mind is going to try to take me out of that state. So it's not like me against the mind, but it is me against the mind. So it's about my being overcoming the mind. And that's something that I wanted to really share with y'all. Go ahead, babe.
Your outer journey may contain 1,000,000 steps. Your inner journey only has one. The step you are taking right now. As you become more deeply aware of this one step, you realize that it already contains within itself all the other steps as well as the destination. And this touches on something that me and Bay talk about a lot, is in that when you make a decision, you are not just making that one decision, you're making a lot of smaller choices along the way. So if you make the decision to lose weight, well, you're not only just choosing to lose weight, you're also choosing to exercise more, you're choosing to increase your diet, and you're choosing to just watch your overall health a lot better. And it's those little steps along the way where we get hung up, on the way to our bigger goal, is because, we get decision fatigue. And sometimes we just get, tired of making these small decisions. So, he's saying that the journey may be long, but the only step that really matters is the one you're in right now, because you can only take that step forward in the now.
I do want to go back a little bit because I want you to understand what is the outer and the inner purpose. He says that your life journey has an outer purpose and an inner purpose. The outer purpose is to arrive at the goal or destination, to accomplish what you have set out to do, to achieve that which of course implies the future. So that's wanting to be a millionaire by 35, wanting to launch your business, wanting to, whatever the goal that you want to set for yourself, that's your outer purpose. The inner purpose, where is it? Did I lose it? The outer purpose, it's right here. Okay, so the inner purpose has to do with how you do it. Yep. Okay. The inner purpose has nothing to do with where you are going or what you are doing, but everything to do with how. It has nothing to do with the future, but everything to do with the quality of your consciousness at this moment. So what that means is, like, it's not about just going to the gym and working out. It's about how present are you during your workout. If you are at the gym and you're getting your work and you're working out, but you're not present during the workout, if you're distracted, if you are not focused on the muscles you need to be focused on, if you're not paying attention to what you need to be doing, you're not going to get the same results as the person that goes to the gym to work out. If you go to the gym and you go with your girlfriend and you're just kicking it up the whole time, you're not going to get the results that the same person that's actually in the gym working out is going to get. So we have this inner purpose and outer purpose. The inner purpose has to do with how you do things and how present you are when you do those things. What is the quality of the things that you're doing? Are you fully in it? Like, did you pour yourself into that? Or are you just trying to get to the goal? Is it, again, a means to an end? Yeah.
Does it matter whether we achieve our outer purpose, whether we succeed or fail in the world?
That's the question.
And it will matter to you as long as you haven't realized your inner purpose. So if you don't know what you want to do on the inside, whatever you do on the outside, it's not going to matter. You're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to reach that state of enlightenment until you realize that, the inner purpose is what controls the outer. So we talked about, again, if your inner is not good, the outer isn't going to be good either.
I love that he says the outer purpose is just a game that you may continue to play simply because you enjoy it. So whether it is wanting to be a billionaire or wanting to, have your own farm, that's a game. That's all, like, you get to play that because you are in this form, but you don't have to. You can choose to do that. Meanwhile, your inner purpose, it is also possible to fail completely in your outer purpose and at the same time totally succeed in your inner purpose. Yesterday we talked about people that may be homeless, that are like, they're happy, they're just grateful, they're not pressed to try to get back into the system because they're good, they feeling good, even though they may not have succeeded to us or to whoever we think, whatever success looks like, but they are good. And then there are people that have succeeded, that are billionaires, that internally are not good. And the people that may have the external success, the outer purpose, they still need to find that inner purpose. But the people that have the inner purpose, they may not need to find that external success, that outer purpose. And that's also possible.
You're very violent over here.
I know, I'm going in. Go ahead. I'm on page 890.
Yeah, we're on 890. We're getting closer to the end here. What is left when the illusion ends? And this is part of the past cannot survive in your presence. And the illusion is you thinking in the future or worrying about the past. It says you may think you need more time to understand the past or become free of it, In other words, that the future will eventually free you from the past. This is a delusion. Only the present can free you from the past. Time cannot free you of time. Access the power of now. That is key.
Whatever you need to know about the unconscious past in you, the challenges of the present will bring them out. So if you're wondering, hey, Nori, do I need to go to my childhood to try to unpack all of this? No, you don't. Mm-hmm. You just need to look at how you behave right now. Mm-hmm. And that's going to show you
exactly
what went down when you were a kid. And a perfect example of this was yesterday with the situation that I talked about my best friend. Immediately after it happened and JP and I started talking about it, I was able to identify what happened in my childhood that pushed me to act that way in that moment with my friend. That's all about my broken promises I experienced as a kid from my parents, having that sense of abandonment from my parents while they were doing what they thought was best. I don't judge them for it. Well, at least I'm doing my best to judge them less and less.
That's why the feeling came
I'm doing my best to judge them less and less every single day, so I don't take that personally anymore. But I'm still working on that. And by looking at that situation and being conscious of it, I was able to isolate where did it come from, where was it rooted in. So now I know that that's something that I need to be vigilant about because I'm still working through that. It's like my emotional blind spot.
Right. And he says there, here's the title of the book. It says, Access the Power of Now. And so he goes on to answer the question, what is the power of now? It says, none other than the power of your presence, your consciousness liberated from thought forms.
So deal with the past on the level of the present. The more attention you give to the past, the most you energize it, and the more likely you are to make a self out of it. So what that means is you just bring it up when you need to. Like I talked about the past yesterday with the thing about my dad and my parents, because it was important in that moment for me to understand why I acted that way towards my friend. And once I understood that, done. We're back to the present. So if you don't want to continue living in the past, we just want to visit it.
You cannot find yourself by going to the past. You can find yourself by coming into the present.
I like that. And then I have what the past cannot survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence. So if you are conscious and you are aware of what's going on right now, then the past can't win because you're there. You are guarding your mind. You're guarding your energy. You're guarding your space. You're responsible for your inner space. But if you're not there, then guess what?
It's going to thrive.
Full game, all game, whatever. Something game.
All right, everybody. Chapter, was that 4?
That was 4. We are going through this book pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got 6 more chapters to go.
All right.
Lots of good stuff today. Lots of good stuff for this week.
Absolutely. Tomorrow's chapter is a shorter chapter, so whatever that means.
That means now I can go eat because I'm trying to be present.
Think about food. Thank you for spending time with us. Again, Power of Now. Tomorrow is chapter 5. And it's actually halfway through. So tomorrow will be halfway through the book. So if you've been reading with us, keep going. We're excited to talk to you. Drop your questions, so whatever. And then maybe we'll share what our next reading is going to be.
Will we know?
I think so.
We'll figure it out. We don't know. We're not in the future. We're in the present. We don't know because we're here.
We're here
with the power now.
Bye.
Deuces.
We didn't even introduce ourselves.
They know who we are. Y'all know who we be.
You on my page. You know this is Nori and this is JP and this is my husband and we're Bay and this is Books of Bay.
Now YouTube, they might not know when we drop this on there.
Yeah, YouTube won't know. Later, guys.
Later.